Professor, thank you for joining us today. First question is about the referendum. If it is to pass, how will it change the Italian government?
The referendum of December the 4th will change the Italian political system in three ways. At the moment, the Italian political system is unique in that it gives power to both the upper house and the lower house in equal measure. Both houses can introduce legislation and no law will pass until both houses approve it. Mm-hmm. So it is a system that's set up to weaken the governmental party. The referendum will increase the power of the party that wins the election in three ways. One, it will shrink the Senate, which at the moment is an unwieldy 315 senators, down to 100. Second, it will increase the ability of the government to enact legislation by changing the electoral system. So when a party wins 40% of the vote, it will get 55% of the seats. And thirdly, it will change the balance of power between the central government and the local government. It will give a lot more power to the central government. In short, this referendum is designed to increase centralization in Italy and give more power to the party that wins the election.
And so similar to when we were coming up to Brexit in the United Kingdom, when David Cameron said if it were to pass, he would likely step down. The Prime Minister of Italy, Renzi, has said he will step down if the referendum loses. Who's next in line for Italy if that were to happen?
Well, let's back up a little bit and talk about why Renzi made this bold move of resigning if he lost the election. At the time he made that offer, he was very popular. And he thought that it would increase the likelihood of this referendum passing by turning it into a vote of confidence in him. Mm-hmm. And like many politicians, he suffers from a certain amount of hubris and thought, if I make it all about me, we will win this. In the interim, he's lost a lot of popularity. So now it's more likely to fail because he has made it about him. And so what will happen if the referendum loses? Well, I think there are two scenarios. He will resign, and on one scenario, the president of Italy will go to him and say, the country needs you. Please stay. Mm-hmm. And he will go to the people and say, I wanted to resign, but the president has asked me to stay. I think that's less likely than the second scenario. The second scenario is the president of the country will choose someone from within his party, probably the economics minister, Padoan, and ask him to step in and become prime minister.
And what sort of effect would that have on Italy?
Well, I think it depends a little bit on the size of the vote. If Renzi loses very badly, and the no vote is very large, people are going to say, oh my God, the populists are likely to win the next election. Mm-hmm. I think that will destabilize Italy and will destabilize the markets. If it's a slight majority for the no vote, then I think that the European Central Bank will step in and say they will support Italy, and I think that the repercussions will be less dramatic.
And one way or another, it's been a pretty hectic year for the European Union. One way or another, how will the result affect the European Union as an institution?
As an institution, I think that if the no vote wins, it will be further sign that Europe is in trouble. Europe is not in control of parties that... Europe is not in control, under the control of parties that are pro-Europe, pro-Euro, and I think this is further sign of instability.
It's been an unstable year or so.
Absolutely.
For liberal Western democracy. We had the Brexit vote to leave for Britain to leave the European Union. We've had the election of Donald Trump in the United States, and we've had a very real possibility in the French elections of the National Front winning their election. What direction are Western democracies heading, and where would you put the situation in Italy on the scale of the previous events that I just mentioned?
Right. Well, Western liberal democracies is in trouble. The old order of trade, transatlantic alliances, and liberal democracy have all taken blows over the last 6 months. Brexit was the first blow. It was a great surprise to the establishment. It was the rise of a white working class who felt that they hadn't won through globalization and Europeanization, and voted for protectionism, voted for nationalism against cosmopolitanism. Same pretty much with the Donald Trump election. It was the vote of people who felt that they'd lost out from trade and from all these alliances that America had developed over the last 40 or 50 years. I think that the Italian vote is something similar. There is a group of people in Italy who feel that they haven't benefited from Europe. They are supporters of a party called Movimento 5 Stelle, the Five-Star Movement, and they are very much in the same frame as the Brexit and Trump voters. I think it will be further evidence of a turn against openness, trade, globalization.
And the last question I have is, do you think the referendum will pass?
No, I think the referendum will fail. I don't think it will fail by much, but it will fail. But there again, I was wrong about the Brexit vote. I was wrong about the Trump vote. So I don't bet on anything I say.
So were we all.
Right.
Well, Professor, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.